We all have addictions, every single one of us. It's a desperation to seek anything. How much unconditional love can I accept?
Maybe the old part of me has to die. That's loving me. The worst decisions I've made in my life.
Duane, we are.
What up, Jared?
What is up? How's it going?
Any better, they're going to lock me up.
Bro, we've been listening to a guy for a while now because this podcast's about that. And we always try to give shout outs. We don't want to claim it as ours. Nothing is Song of Solomon says, but he talks about the spiritual aspect of your ego and everything. Today's episode is why your addiction is a spiritual cry for connection. When we think of the word alone, like in our minds, the images, the stories we tell ourselves about the word addiction, there's struggle. There's despair. There's relentless cycles. There's lots of failing. And for too long, our understanding, I think, of the human experience has been focused with, and I want us to think of the word addiction, is all been focused on the clinical, on the physical dependence, on the psychological coping, on the behavioral patterns, those things. And I feel, and this is why I love our podcast, and this is what we do, there's this tragic short of dressing of the most profound and overlooked dimensions, the spiritual. Do you feel, I want you to talk about that. Like when you see cravings for substance or a fundamentally human longing that goes unmet, all these things, meaning, purpose, genuine connection, all these things are a spiritual malady.
We have been very clear on our podcast since the beginning, but it's good to reiterate. I'm not really suffering from a donut. If I have an overeating addiction, if I'm an alcoholic, which I am in long-term recovery, you guys know the story, 15 years. I'm not really suffering from a powder if I am a cocaine addict, which I was for years. What I'm really, those are symptoms of my disease. But what I'm really suffering from is being selfish and self-centered to the core. I have a disease of selfish and self-centeredness. I use these substances to get what I want because they work immediately. Let's go evolutional psychology with it, Jay, because this is a good way to approach the spiritual void. There are two types of reward systems in the brain. When the reward system is engaged, the brain releases dopamine. So that means there are two types of ways to receive dopamine from our life. One is consummatory reward. Consummatory reward would be like an orgasm, buying a new watch, a new shirt, or eating, consuming something, drinking something. But once I get the thing, that structure in the mind is over. It's done. Yeah. So I get the dopamine hit from the thing, and that's it. The other form of reward is intrinsic reward. And intrinsic reward is when I recognize myself on the desired path to a desired goal. I see myself heading in the right direction to something that I want. That releases dopamine as well. However, the structure in the mind of having the goal in the distance doesn't go away. It's not, so that structure is not eliminated once the dopamine is released. It can stay. I can still have that goal in the distance.
Right.
The reason that we want to discuss the two forms of intrinsic reward is because if my goal is spiritual development, if my goal is have a relationship with God that can solve my addiction problem, that journey doesn't have to end. I can see myself going further and further down the path on a spiritual awakening, on a journey to feel God in that void that I've had, that I've been trying to fill liquor with my whole life. It can release dopamine. So we get a little fit, we get a little, oh, I'm heading in the right direction from trying to build a relationship with God. And we start to have meaning in our life. We start to have purpose. We start to shoulder responsibility. We start to live this in a way that I can be proud of. But that's because I have this high order aim in the distance that I'm probably never going to achieve. I'm not going to be God. I'm not going to be perfect, but that's definitely the goal. The goal is Christ-like, is have this perfect objective, which is of God. I'm never going to be that. I goof up every day. But now I have the direction ahead and I can get little hits of reward in my brain. I start something, man, I am. It's interesting because the old school version, the selfish version, is consummatory reward.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when we're in fight or flight, when we're in survival mode, which is what you are in your addiction, when it's in its fullest extent, that shuts the prefrontal cortex off. And then now you're operating in the lizard brain, and the lizard brain can't be creative. The lizard brain doesn't know what clarity looks like. It doesn't know, like you said, the high aim. Here's what I'm going for. Here's where I'm at. And I think this is the misguided attempt with a lot of addiction. I do think there's misguided attempts with this not addressing the internal emptiness. And this is what we're going to talk about today with Matt Kahn teachings. We believe that there's an approach, there's a love revolution in recovery. And this invisible emptiness is what everyone's feeling, whether they have the dopamine hits off of Instagram and they're addicted to social media, they're addicted to food, or you with alcohol and cocaine and everything else. We all have addictions, every single one of us. But I want us to imagine an insatiable hunger, not for food, but something that's undefinable. Think about that. Like this, Jordan Peterson talks about this being in the clouds, this deep aching emptiness. And that there's no amount of anything external. There's no amount of achievements, awards, job positions, zeros in your bank account. There's no amount of women or men or whatever you like, pleasure. You could have 3 women at the same time. It doesn't matter. There's no pleasure. And then there's no distraction. That new car, that new watch, that new home, that can truly feel it. When we look at it that way, it paints a clear picture of this spiritual void.
Yes.
And that's what perpetrates this devastating cycle of addiction.
One of my great spiritual advisors used to say, I have a God-sized hole in the middle of me. I try to fill it up with liquor and it worked for a little while. Then I try to fill it up with money and it worked for a little while. And then I try to fill it up with drugs and it worked for a little while. But then it stopped working. And that void that you're talking about, Jay, you have not found this podcast by accident. That's because you're getting your ass kicked by something. You're getting your ass kicked by your addiction. And what we start to experience when those things stop working and I'm just existing in the void is very accurately described as hopelessness.
Yeah.
I feel very hopeless. The thing that I thought was going to make me okay is no longer making me okay. I drink whether I want to or not. And that to get to the depths of my alcoholism, that's the picture perfect image of addiction. I do it whether I want to or not. I'm dependent, but it's no longer giving me the release I once received. I'm not even getting the dopamine from it anymore. Now it's like I just have to have it. And then that lifestyle can spiral us down. And it's not until we take God and put God in that space, in that void inside of us, that we start to recover. And you're right, Jay. That's one of the highlights. That's why we keep bringing it back to basics on our podcast here is that has to be the answer for us. That has to be the answer for us because we've done it the other way. I've got the new jobs. I've got the cars. I've got the different relationship. This one will save me. I know it. And it was never any better until I started putting God inside of that void.
And I want people, when they think about this internal spiritual void, for a lot of addicts, it becomes unbearable. And I think they're more sensitive. I think you're more sensitive to it, which is amazing. If you're more sensitive to understanding that you have a spiritual void and you're trying to fill it up with the bad things, but at least you're recognizing. Some people don't even recognize it, but it's a desperation to seek anything. And I think there's 3 things that you can tell if you're in your addiction. One is to numb the pain. One is to feel nothing at all, or one is to feel something. Like I drink to numb the pain. I can't handle that my mom died and I was holding her while she died, and I don't want to feel that. Or it's to feel something. Like when I drink, I talked to somebody that was using methamphetamines, and they said, I'm such an introvert. When I use meth, everybody's my friend and I'm their friend. I want to feel something. And then I feel nothing at all. I want to take SSRIs or antidepressants. I don't want to feel that yucky feeling I have. I was talking to someone the other day and they're addicted to antidepressants and wine. This older lady I was talking to, she's like, she's every day I drink. And I'm like, you're addicted to pills and you're an alcoholic. She's like, well, I would say probably more functional. She was trying to downplay it. And you've seen that over and over again. But that misguided attempt, that's all it is. It's a misguided attempt to find purpose or to find some type of, does that make sense?
Very well said. It's connection with something fake. Not only is it fake because it's a substance, but it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable because I have to always, this is the Eckhart Tolle version. The Eckhart Tolle version is I have to always come back to my normal state of consciousness. And what that means is I always have to sober up.
Yeah.
So if I'm using wine and pills to touch God and feel connected, what do I have when the wine and pills wears off? And it's very much like that for a lot of addicts because the dopamine that we receive from the substance is so easily confused with, now I'm connected to source. Now I'm feeling good. This is what I wanted. I knew it. Now I'm alive. Now I fit in. That's exactly what it was like for me, brother. It was like I never fit in. I felt awkward in my skin. I started to getting those dopamine hits from the alcohol. And all of a sudden, I was the life of the party. And
yes.
for a while, that worked. And it was attractive and people liked me and I was fun to hang out with. But after that, I started getting pretty shitty and I started prioritizing the alcohol over the friendships. And I started prioritizing the alcohol over people's safety and peace of mind. I started sacrificing those things, their peace of mind, their safety, their serenity, to meet my selfish need. And when you do that, people don't want to be around you. They're like, you could stay away. As the spiral continues, the goal was, I need to feel nothing. Like you said, one of those three. For me, it was, I don't want to feel anymore. Alcohol will help me turn a blind eye to the shitty life I'm living.
Bro, what you said is so true. And from a spiritual perspective, when we look in the Bible, the word Satan or Satan, the Hebraic meaning is the great deceiver.
Yes. And ancient cultures would interchange ego with Satan. Obviously, our ego is necessary and useful to keep us alive. There's no getting rid of it. I'm not going to get rid of my ego. But when it's taken to the extreme, that's the part of me that is also sacrificing other people in order to get what I want, in order to take care of me and my selfish desires. Because remember, I don't suffer from a disease of bottles. I suffer from a disease of selfish and self-centeredness. That's at the crux of my addiction. That's what's really kicking my ass. It's not until we put God in the center and start heading in a counterintuitive direction to be of service to others, to be of service to God, that we start to change.
Yes. And like a lot of these traditional models of addiction recovery, and like I said, they're incredibly valuable, they're life-saving, but they operate within this framework that they don't fully acknowledge or address that spiritual void, that internal emptiness. Instead, they focus on abstinence, behavior modification, or psychological coping mechanisms. But when you really see, and you and I know programs that are amazing, the programs that are amazing that has the most effect on people is the ones that address the mind, body, and spirit. Those are the ones that achieve lasting liberation.
Absolutely. Without the spiritual piece, many circles would call that white knuckling it. I know a better way. I'm choosing not to, but I'm still a major asshole.
Yes.
It's like I'm holding on for dear life and I'm white knuckling my way through sobriety. I got kicked out of the house, Jay. My mom kicked me out of the house. You guys know I got sober young. I was exposed to recovery at a very early age. I was still living at my mom's house. She kicked me out of the house 3 months sober because I was such a jerk. I was just such an asshole to be around. Right. And I wasn't drinking, but I also didn't have a spiritual solution. I didn't have a way to treat other people. I'm hanging on for dear life because I know I'm not supposed to do that. And there's a very big difference between being sober and being free. Jason and I are not just in it for sobriety. We're in it for freedom. Odd peace that allows me to navigate the world, a free man. I can go anywhere in the world today and not have a panic attack and not have to worry about picking up and not have to worry about, did I cause harm to my own mother? I can go anywhere in the world today, a free man, as a result of spiritual disciplines.
That's so good, bro. That's amazing. And that leads right into Matt Kahn's teachings. I want us to look at this, like you're describing his teachings about this radical reframe. And he has a mantra that's so easy to use. And I want everybody, it's a powerful mantra. I want everybody to write this down right now. This is the core of Matt Kahn's teachings. His mantra is, whatever arises, love it.
Yes.
Whatever arises, love that. This isn't about ignoring or condoning your destructive, addictive behavior, but to me, it's like this direct invitation from God to meet all those ugly states that's in me. And whether it's this excruciating cravings that I have for just in me, and the crushing weight of shame after I've gained a bunch of weight, and it's like, why the hell would I do this? Or it's the emotional pain, not that I've just caused to myself, but to everyone around me. But when I say whatever arises, love that, how much unconditional love can I accept? How much acceptance can I put in my life? And it takes when you say whatever arises, love that, and then you're feeling shame, guilt, emotional pain, it takes it all away when you really start to dwell on whatever arises, love that.
So powerful, man. So powerful. I remember hearing a podcast with him where he said that's when the universe birthed through me, whatever arises, love that. What powerful medicine. I'm so grateful that we're getting to talk about him. And I'm very grateful that you introduced me to his teachings. It was over a couple of years ago when we were at the gym. We were looking at self-pity. We'd been studying self-pity, studying responsibility. And then you said, I think I'm starting to look at love, studying love. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I am not ready to study love. No, not me. I'll study other shit, but not love. There's just no higher vibration than love. And I'm very grateful that you challenged me to start looking at that. What's my relationship with love? What's my relationship with that vibration? What's my relationship with how I'm treating others? If my vibration is whatever arises, love that, I can't simultaneously judge it. Can't simultaneously try and beat it up. I can't simultaneously try and conquer it with my ego. I have to live in accordance with harmony. I have to be there as service too. I have to be there as, what can I bring to the table? I'm trying to offer my love here. What can I offer? And in regards to those two ways to go through the world, consummatory reward or intrinsic reward, consummatory reward is about me. That's the selfish, self-centered addict saying, what's in it for me? What do you have for me? I want it now. And then boom, I consumed the thing and I got what I wanted. That would be the opposite of let me love someone else. The goal in the distance with Matt Kahn's mantra is, how can I be of service to somebody else? How can I offer love to the people in my life? Whatever arises, love that. That might mean I have a relationship with my partner, with my fiance. How can it's going to be a 50-year relationship, God willing. I can continue down that path. How can I offer love to her? I have a relationship with my 4-year-old, with my 8-year-old, with my 12-year-old. They're going to outlive me, God willing. So there's a very long goal, a goal in the distance. How can I head down that path in the best way? It might be offering them love. Of course, we want to have standards and teach them to shoulder responsibility as well. How about myself? How long do I think I'm going to exist? Maybe another 60 years, maybe? That's a long time. Am I going to be treating myself with love and offering myself recovery, offering myself a spiritual discipline, offering myself a life I can be proud of? Whatever arises, love that. It's like, I have to treat myself that way too. So basically, what Matt Kahn is offering us is the best long-term strategy we have in regards to being on a recovery journey, on a spiritual journey, but also receiving that dopamine along the way and not needing a substance to do it.
Yeah, and I don't even think whenever you see the whatever arises, love that. It's radical acceptance is what he talks about.
Yeah.
But it's an invitation to be a badass. It's an invitation to say, I'm not going to fight this. I'm not going to suppress this. I'm not going to try to escape. I'm going to hit this internal struggle straight on. And when I do that and I acknowledge it without judgment and I breathe into it, my higher self, I breathe into a God, then compassion's allowed to, like you always talk about that window of grace, that's where compassion's allowed to come through that little window. And then when that happens, that's when we begin to really understand that this is just a spiritual path that we're on. And the addiction is just a GPS of the things that we need to work on, if that makes sense. I need to go in this direction. Oh shit, I got a really big problem. And you and I are this way now when our spiritual maturity is when we see something, we fucking go right into it like a sniper shot. Fuck, why am I feeling this? Let me throw some mantras at this. When we used to fight, suppress, or escape, now we're like, bring it on, motherfucker. What's this? Oh, ego's talking this shit to me now. And that's what begins to happen when you can acknowledge it without judgment and then consciously offer compassion to that part of ourselves. God begins to come in, and that's what happens.
Absolutely right, Jay. That's the same as exposure therapy, Christ on the cross, and radical acceptance. This Matt Kahn is this overlay and big perspective available for us. Radical acceptance means I'm not fighting this. The exposure therapy means I'm going to willingly confront the thing that's kicking my ass.
Yeah.
Like you just said, I have to be willing to look at it. I have to be willing to take it head on. Otherwise, there's not going to be any change in my behavior. I'll continue to evade, suppress, and be in denial. No, I didn't even turn the blind eye. So that's exposure therapy. That's also why we've put the crucifix at the center of the center. The crucifix goes at the center of the church, on the center of the altar, in the center of the town, in the center of the city, in the center of the state. Look at the thing that is kicking your ass. It's suffering. What is your suffering? What is your cross to bear? What did Christ say on the cross? He said, thy will be done. He said, I say yes to this. So as a result of him saying yes to this horrific, hard suffering, God was able to come in and transform the situation into rebirth. I remember you told me that, brother. It was one of our initial podcasts, and you said, everyone focuses on the crucifixion. It's the resurrection that's equally as important, if not more important. It's because he said yes to the suffering, he was able to be reborn.
Yeah.
The same as whatever arises, maybe the old part of me has to die in order to be born into something new. How is that not loving myself? Born into something more capable, more successful, more powerful, more honorable. That's loving me. That's self-love. So I have to be willing to look at the thing that's kicking my ass in order to be reborn into a better version of me. And that's how we start to feel that God-sized hole with God. We start leaning into spirituality instead of running away from it.
Yeah, that's so good. And this leads us directly into confronting what Kahn says. Matt Kahn, I encourage you guys to go on YouTube and look him up. But I want to get into something that every single human on this planet faces, and that's ego addiction. A lot of people just go through life not self-aware at all, and they're just addicted to their ego, and they just run through and just play survival mode all their life. But Matt Kahn calls the ego, he says WAR, and it's an acronym, W.A.R. It's worry, anticipation, and regret. When you're in worry, anticipation, or regret, you're in the ego. In addiction, this manifests as like constant worry about the future, relapse consequences, where am I going to get my drugs from? When you're an addict, you're just worrying all the time. And then there's this anticipation. You've told me this before. You had more fun going to get the drugs. And then the cycle of regret. Afterwards, you're like, fuck, I fucked this up. I had shit for this chick, but I was too drunk. Worry, anticipation, and regret. It's that war that the ego loves to take over.
Wow. I haven't heard that acronym. That's exactly what it is. It's a war. It's battle. It's like I'm going to war in my mind, and I'm pretty crazy when I'm in battle. Everything is a little skewed. Man, that's great. And the only place I can exist.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you really think about it, the ego is trying to take over. It's trying to take control. It doesn't have eyes, so it's just going through your mind.
Yes.
The self, you know what's funny is the ego will always drag you into suffering. It wants to look backwards or forward. The ego is never present.
No,
And
exactly right.
it needs external validation, external solutions, and an external escape.
It's all about the form world, and the ego can be, look at me, don't I get everybody's praise? Or the ego can also be, don't look at me, I'm the worst thing ever on planet Earth. I'm the lowest of the low. Please don't look at me. So it's the extreme of pride, extremes of narcissism, extremes of... The other interesting piece about worry, Eckhart Tolle, is worry pretends to be necessary. Where do I experience worry? I experience worry in my mind. That's the only place worry can exist. I have to be lost in thought in order to be worried about something. Like you just said, Jake, the present moment goes out the window. I'm no longer honoring the present moment in my mind. That's the only place we can experience worry. The worry pretends to be necessary. It's like the mind hijacks it, grabs onto it, and says, thank you. Now we could be in the mind. Part of our spiritual practice and one of our goals is to exit the mind. Don't spend a lot of time up there. Your mind is a dangerous territory, especially early recovery. It's like you need to start focusing on the present moment. And there are countless tools to be able to do that. Sense perceptions is one of the most simple tools we have. It sounds stupid. It sounds like I'm talking to a kindergartner. Read the signs that are around you. Read the sign that says Highway 599. It's like actually be present enough to read it. Vision is a sense perception. Auditory is sense perception. I have shit in my ears all the time. I listen to Matt Kahn, Jordan Peterson, Eckhart, Joe Dispenza. I put in podcasts. The auditory brings me present. I can't simultaneously be focused on what Jordan's saying and worried about my bills in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. I have to do one or the other. My brain can't handle both at the same time. So to get out of the worry, we start honoring the present moment with sense perceptions. And then that evolves too. That evolves with repetition. Maybe I start to spend more time in the present moment than I spend lost in my mind. One of the Matt Kahn teachings that is so powerful, I don't know if I'll nail this right, but it's something like the evolutional job of the ego was to take us to suffering.
Yes. Yep.
And suffering is what takes us to service. I start experiencing this horrible way of living and I can't stand it anymore. It's like, okay, I got to flip the script on this. I want to do something different. The reverse of selfish, self-centered ego is something like service to others. What can I offer the world instead of what does the world have to give me? It's very powerful, but we have to go through the evolution of that journey. And initially, the ego creates a lot of suffering. And in our alcoholism, in our addiction, it was enough suffering to nearly kill us. That's why we're listening and talking today, is because we don't want to die from our addiction. We got as close to dying as we're willing to get. And now we start to say, okay, no more suffering. What do I do instead? We start to be of service to other people. We start to practice, how do I love other people? It's a better strategy to navigate the world.
And Kahn points out that this is a desperate seeking, but in this external seeking and the ego drawing you towards suffering, it further isolates the soul or your higher self. Duane, and I think it's, when you really get this, it's really profound. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's just a fundamental misdirection of energy. You have the same amount of energy. Physics says that. It's like, what am I going to put all my energy that I have for the day, all the brain power with the calories that the caloric intake I've took, am I going to just put it into sitting around and worrying? Addicts are really good at worrying. I am an expert. I'm a black belt in worrying. I can really go down a rabbit hole of worrying. Like my relationship's all fucked up. My kids hate me. I could go the worst of the worst down that rabbit hole. And it's just a misdirection of energy. And then I'm feeding that cycle that I want to break, but I can't break it because I'm addicted to my ego and I'm caught in this egoic war. And so in turn, I feel like a lot of times that I have to fight my demons or battle against my addicted self. But to think that you don't have an ego is silly, because that is just telling you that you're denying it. And that's the ego tricking you. You know, God's spiritual here. Ego isn't like you had said earlier, it's an integral part of our human form. So how do I integrate the ego into the light? Here's the shame, the worry that the ego is bringing. How do I bring that into light, into this third density, into this world? You know, how do I integrate my ego into looking at my relationship? How do I integrate my ego into looking at my kids, into my work? And like you were saying, this suffering then becomes an ally. And in that, then I look at it and I can be like, oh, I don't need to be a victim to this suffering. My higher self has already gone through this, so I can transcend this suffering. So now I'm going to shift allegiance to my higher self. The ego is no longer the master. I'm not desperately chasing external validation. I become the willing servant of God, and I begin to embrace the divinity that is within me. The ego no longer can take any type of emotional rehab as driving force for self-sabotage. No longer has this driving force for seeking some temporary relief. When we begin to embrace the ego and understand what it is and love it, man, it changes everything.
Yeah. So badass, bro. This is one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you guys about Matt Kahn. We're going there, and hopefully you can join the ride, because this is deep end spirituality. This is opening to that internal divine. This is spiritual awakening. If you guys can get, this is how you start. This is the difference between sober and free. This is how we become free on our spiritual journey. And I love what you said about integration. That's the exact right word, because there's no getting rid of the ego. It's going to be with us the rest of our lives. We need it to stay safe and survive. However, it's the integration of the ego that we want to focus on. It's not the destruction of the ego. That's not ever going to happen. So it's not destruction of the ego. It's integration of the ego. Couple different tools here. It's the Carl Jung is drag that shadow into the light.
Yeah.
And I literally just do, again, for a sense perception, I literally use my hands and move this make-believe ego into God's light here. So I have a physical action that brings me present moment in regards to the spiritual work of integration of the ego. If I drag that ego into the light, it's very useful.
Yeah.
If I ask God to shine his light on the shadow part of me, that's also the part of me that gets to tell other people no. It's called controlled aggression. It's the integration of the ego gives me some fucking teeth. I have some power behind my words now. And someone says, Duane, you want to go to Tijuana and get some fucking cocaine and go for a good time? And I have the power behind me now to say, no,
Yes.
I'm not doing that anymore. I'm now playing for higher stakes.
So
old Duane played an old game. And he would have said, yes, let's go to Tijuana now. I can't believe we're not there already. Come on. I am playing for higher stakes now. So the answer is simply no. I'm playing for higher stakes because I have something invested in the future now. The best version of Duane is not going across the border to Tijuana to do illegal substances and get blackout drunk. The best version of Duane exists in the future, and he's building a family, he's building businesses, he's helping other people on recovery journey. He's of service to God and to his fellows. And I'm playing for higher stakes now. I'm not willing to throw those things down the toilet, because old Duane used to throw everything down the toilet to get drunk. The Matt Kahn has a beautiful image about the integration that I just love. He talks about his tapestry at his house, and he has a tapestry of Ganesh. And Ganesh is the elephant-faced Hindu god. In the tapestry, there's a little mouse at the foot of Ganesh, and the mouse is praying to Ganesh. He says, the analogy is, the mouse is like our little ego. And Ganesh is the divinity inside of me.
That's so
And what I like to imagine is the ego coming to my spirit and saying, okay, I will serve you. We will do it your way, because the way I'm doing it doesn't work. And then the spirit says to the ego, thank you. I will bless you back as a result of your service. So we start to get a good life because of this spiritual behavior. That's the integration of the ego. Can I bring it into the light and use it in a positive way? That's the human being that we are both. There's your Christian cross, and we want them to dance together. They're not fighting each other. It's not a destruction mission. It's a rescue mission. Our spirit is rescuing our ego. And when we do that, that's when you start tiptoeing into freedom. That's when you start not having to worry about a bottle on a shelf at the grocery store, because you're already walking around with the solution inside of you. You're already connected to God. Your spirit is already integrated.
Bro, that is so good. I love that analogy. And in this integration, in this reframing, I think in the practical sense, it leads us to Matt Kahn's gifts of space and time.
Yeah.
Because addiction thrives in the absence of conscious presence. It's in the constant pursuit of those external stimulations. And in this overwhelming noise, you got to think about a battle going on so loud with the cannons and the bombs dropping from the planes. It's just, that's the ego's war, the W.A.R that we talked about earlier. But Kahn offers this direct antidote, cultivating this inner spaciousness. That's the gift of space. And then making peace with the present moment. That's the gift of time. And when you begin to look at that and see our active addiction where we're running from something, we never feel, we don't have, we're looking at something that was so negative, we can't handle it, a memory, a reality, whatever that was. But as an addict, we have an aversion to that inner space. And that inner space is the healing. That's where pure awareness remains. That's where this conscious engagement with the present begins to allow, like you talk about, when you said that opening of the window of grace that comes into our lives, and some people have it, some people don't. I began to think of early morning when I open the window and it's cool outside and there's a light breeze and the sun begins to come through. It's that window of grace, the brightness of the soul that's shining through. It's a mini mental break. That's what we use affirmations and prayer.
Yep.
It's just a pause. Consciously feel whatever emotion is there. You love it. You don't try to change it. You take a few mindful breaths. And in that alignment with breath, you begin to invite spaciousness. And what happens to its spaciousness? The ego's like, what the fuck's going on? It begins to unravel really quickly. It's the little mouse. It's so easy. And it sounds superficial and it sounds too easy, but this is a powerful energetic mechanism that can unravel deep-seated trauma and shift your consciousness awareness. It's so beautiful, bro.
Very powerful. Very powerful, bro. I have this piece of literature that was given to me by a spiritual advisor. In the back of this book, on page 263, there's this old school way of going through a spiritual development course.
Mm-hmm.
It's shortened. It's like a condensed version. This is how we did it back in the day. It was done in an afternoon. You jump in and you start helping other people. There weren't a lot of people trying to recover or practice spirituality back in the day. And they were like, in this literature, we need as many people to help as we can. Here, get ready and go help other people fast. And so my spiritual advisor gave me that book. And in the front of the book, there's another story about a gentleman being greeted at the hospital. And he was hospitalized because of his addiction, which many of us have been, myself included. His friend came and saw him there in the hospital. And his friend was no longer drinking. He was in the hospital for drinking. He said, what's going on? His friend told him, I found God. I'm not drinking, but it's because I've put God in place of that void. My spiritual advisor got a hold of my book at some point, and he wrote in the margin, see page 263. This is how they used to do it. Love you, blood. Bobby, August 2012. I didn't find that note that he put in the margin until after he had passed away.
What a beautiful gift.
And so Bobby was talking to me from the grave. Maybe it's his love that can bend space and time, can transcend different dimensions, and still speak to me today. Because when that topic comes up or when that page comes up, I know he's still talking to me.
Yes.
This is like deep end stuff, bro. I love that we're getting into this. That's what Matt Kahn might be referring to in regards to this space and time, this infinite abundance that we're allowed to access. If God is love, maybe that love lives in the open space. Physicists tell us our body is 99% open space. And that power might be what can bend space and time and go through different dimensions. Like Christ would have been a fifth or sixth dimensional being.
Yes.
And so I know Bobby's talking to me from different dimensions when that page comes up. And he's talking to me because of the love that he was able to give me. It brings me to tears now to know that someone cared that much for me, that offered me that type of love.
Yeah, and he was of service, bro. And how does love last? Isn't it ripples? You know, that's not bound. Unconditional love is not bound by time or space.
No, it can bend space and time.
Yes, it's the highest vibration.
Yes.
So find out that's what the universe is made of. When you get down to the nucleus, I guarantee that space, that invisible space, is just full of love and light. Yeah, it's so funny what you were just saying. I don't know if you've ever watched Mission Impossible movies. I knew there was a new one that just came out. I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, with Tom Cruise, in our ego, with the worry, anticipation, and regret, and in addiction, I always believe like we're living like Mission Impossible. There's a race against the clock scenario.
Oh, yeah.
And there's this believing that desired outcomes are somewhere else, or they're not yet present. And when you got that race against the clock and you're like in a movie with your addiction, it fuels impatience. Because recovery process, you got to be really patient and it's super slow. You know,
Yep.
if you can make peace with time, embrace patience, and release that grip of regret, and not be looking at the somewhere else or the not yet present, those lies the ego's giving you, I think this is where the self-destructive patterns begin to melt away. This becomes the ultimate pivot, if that makes sense.
This is, we're like tiptoeing into real freedom. If I can make peace with time, if I can have a radical acceptance, if I can say, whatever arises, love that. I'm not forcing an outcome. And I can tell you guys from experience, 10 times out of 10, God's plan is better for me than mine. Another way to say that is the worst decisions I've made in my life have been things I've tried to force into existence.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're flipped the script on that with this, whatever arises, love that, because I'm no longer forcing my will. The little mouse isn't getting his way.
Right.
We're allowing Ganesh or God consciousness to move through us, and we're awakening that power inside of us. And then all of a sudden we're struck with an intuition or a divine inspiration. It's, man, I never thought I'd be a personal trainer helping people at the gym practice spiritual principles. I never even wanted to do that. And then that's what I get to do now. Monday through Friday, I get to help teach people how to be healthy and practice spirituality at the same time. We allow God to fill that space instead of our ego.
Bro, in closing, this leads us into the fundamental truth. And this is the most powerful point. This is the part that always gets me, just blows me away and gets my emotions up, is when Matt Kahn emphasizes the innate worthiness of every individual. He looks at it as this deeply damaged, almost completely shattered addict. You're active in your addiction. There's self-neglect. There's choices that were made full of regret. There's this impact that you've negatively had on every person that has been closest to you. And when I think about addiction and us being in our addiction and saying, fuck it to everything, it builds this mountain of unworthiness, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
And Matt Kahn, he teaches this, but this blows me away every time. He says the core of our spiritual journey that unites all is that all of us are learning how to develop a level of worthiness that allows us to see and treat ourselves as God always does. God looks at Duane. He doesn't love you less when you're blackout drunk in the back of your friend's car when you were 18 or 19. Does God love you any less?
No, absolutely not.
So all we need to do is learn to have that divinity in us and just love that. Just love that. And then what you're doing is just operating in the highest forms of love. And that's what God does. So it's like, how do we develop this level of worthiness in us that we through God's eyes?
Man, absolutely. Just so beautiful. Again, if I'm trying to practice love with others, I can't simultaneously be morally superior and judgmental in my mind. If this son of a bitch in traffic would only go faster. Oh, I love this. That is how it has been unfold initially, guys. I got to tell you, like, it's just baby steps. It's just baby steps. The judgment comes, and then I ask God for help. Over time, it's been my experience that the judgment dissipates, but it doesn't ever go away. If we can have moments of freedom, like you're talking about, Jay, in regards to this fundamental truth, it takes the edge off so beautifully. Everybody's learning. Everybody is on their own awakening journey. We're all learning how to be the best version of ourselves here in three-dimensional earth. And I'm just at where I'm at right now. So everyone else is at where they're at too. And then that offers the window of a little bit of grace, a little
Mhm.
bit of compassion. I don't have to be such the judge and jury executioner of everybody in their misbehavior, because if they had spiritual principles, they'd be better than they are right now.
Yes. Yeah.
So my ego can sneak in to my spirituality, and I start to judge people because they're not doing it the way I think it should be. And it's
Yeah,
a better strategy to allow them to be flawed, allow them to be on their own awakening, learning journey. Everyone's going to have all experiences. It's just we don't have them all at the same time. So everyone is on their own spiritual awakening journey. And I don't get to be in charge of their timeline. There is another nice tool. You remember, this helped me very much at the restaurant when I was working in the service industry. There's no less God in them than there is in me.
Mm-hmm.
There's no less God in them than there is in me. And then when I get a bad tip, I'd say, yeah, they just broke motherfuckers. There's no less God in them than there is in me. That's
So
God in them. I know my human form is still going to judge,
Mm-hmm.
but I do want my spirit to be forefront. And I want to put the spirit first, because that's one of God's kids too.
Yeah, that's so good, bro. And in closing, it reframes recovery. It's not a battle against a flaw or a victim to food, sex, bottles, or cocaine, whatever it may be. It's not about becoming worthy. It's about realizing you always were. Like you said, you're
Absolutely.
not kids. It's the prodigal son, but you're fine. When you begin to truly focus on being worthy, it's so funny because anything that needs to be healed from unworthiness collapses. It's like when you go to the roots of the tree, you're going to get everything else. You're going to get those wounds. You're going to get what your parents did to you, what your spouse did to you. You're going to heal all those things because you're going to the root of unworthiness. And when you begin to water that with the higher self, the tree's naturally going to hit spring season. You're going to automatically begin, that water's going to shoot up through those roots and go up into that trunk. And then it's going to go out of the branches and you're going to see acorns and leaves and everything else. You don't have to sit there. That's the problem with a lot of this recovery. Everybody's trying to battle all these things with unworthiness, where they don't realize that the struggle is just recognizing who you are in your divinity.
Yeah. It's so powerful. I'm so grateful for these teachings. I'm so grateful that we get to share them with other people, because it gives us a lot of meaning and purpose. You guys, if you're interested in changing your life, if you're interested in recovering long-term and having a life worth living, pick these tools up and run with them. The other way to reiterate what Jason just said is be what you already are.
Mm-hmm.
You already are connected to source. You already are walking around with the solution. It just takes so much pressure off of us. It doesn't have to be this constant battle and worry in the mind. Be of service to God, be of service to our fellows. We can start to enjoy the present moment. It does take time. It's like compound interest. But enough of that compound interest, we start building lives we can be proud of. And that's what you guys are invited to join us on here at Recovered Addict Podcast. We wish you the very best. We love you guys. Thank you.
Yes, and don't forget, if you love the podcast, we have a course available. You can go to recoveredaddictpodcast.com, click on the link, you'll see it. It says courses, and you can go from there. We have it very reasonable price-wise, and this will help you with your addiction. Thank you, Duane.